Have you ever felt caught in an exhausting cycle? One day you are completely burnt out, unable to get off the couch. The next, your mind is racing, you're pacing the floor, and you can't seem to turn your brain off. In traditional Chinese medicine, there is a different way to look at this swing. It starts in your chest. Ancient physicians identified the heart as the emperor of the entire body. Look at this traditional anatomical chart of the body's energy pathways. Notice how much of the network centers around the torso. That's because these early doctors mapped our consciousness, our feelings, and our spirit, something they called Shen, directly to the heart. To understand how your Shen works, imagine your chest houses a glowing oil lantern. This lantern produces the warmth and awareness that makes you feel alive. If we track how that internal lantern behaves, we can begin to see our emotional swings as three distinct phases of one living center. The first phase is the silent heart. This happens when the grounding energy that keeps us steady, our yin, begins to dry up. The lamp simply lacks the oil to sustain its flame. When the heart is this cool and withdrawn, a person's gaze becomes dim and their tongue feels heavy. They might want to speak, but the words fall back into the chest and the spirit turns inward. We often see this state manifest as clinical burnout, depression, or the quiet despair of someone whose inner fire is fading. At the opposite extreme is the fiery heart. The oil is the yin, and the flame is the yang. Watch how the lantern reacts to too much wind. The flame flares upward with unstable brilliance, rapidly consuming the essential oil at the bottom. Physically, this looks like pure agitation. The tongue moves without control, resulting in fast, unending speech. The mind jumps between racing thoughts, and joy becomes compulsive laughter. In our world, we experience this through manic anxiety and the pressure to overwork. It is the heart trying to laugh itself to death because it cannot bear its own flame. Because a fiery heart burns through its own fuel so quickly, this high anxiety state leads directly to a crash, dropping you right back into the exhausted silence of the first phase. Between these two extremes lies a third state, the harmonious heart. It is the ancient ideal of the middle way. This symbol represents that perfect equilibrium. Here, the grounding yin successfully anchors the active yang, and the yang softly illuminates the yin. The Shen sits peacefully in its palace. In this state, a person's voice is clear and their laughter is sincere. Their eyes are bright, but they don't have that frantic, over-energized look. Thoughts flow easily, and emotions arise and subside like gentle waves on a calm sea. Traditional physicians look for these subtle physical signs to assess a patient's health. By listening to the pulse, they can hear whether the heart is at peace or struggling to find its rhythm. A well-fueled, steady inner flame allows the emperor to rule your life through calm presence rather than frantic command. You can use this lantern metaphor right now to see where you are. If you feel indifferent, mute, and heavy, your lantern is silent. It needs to be nourished with warmth and grounding care. If you feel a restless need to move, talk fast, and overthink, your lantern is fiery. It requires immediate rest and protection from the wind of external stress. These extremes are simply messages from a body swinging between poles, telling you it's time to move back toward the center. Living with a good heart means finding that quiet conversation between the oil and the flame. It is the point where your light shines softly, not as a shadow and not as a fire, but as a steady glow.